Hi, everybody, and welcome to this month's installment of the Audio Production Town Hall. So thanks for joining us, and we're always here each month discussing audio production and all of its aspects, ranging from music production techniques, audio post-production, sound design for games, the full gamut. And thank you for joining us, and hopefully you're able to join us live. If not, we'll definitely be archiving this, and you'll be able to watch that archive directly through the provided link. So today, what we're going to be talking about is the Zoom H5 recorder that is included with your LaunchBox.
Issues. So my SD card door is on the side, and I simply pop my SD card in, close in my door, and now I am ready to go. I'm going to power it on. It is advised that the first time you use a new SD card in the H5, you do format it, same that you would do with a camera or any other piece of gear taking an SD card. And that process was already done for me, but that would be done in the SD card menu. And so now that I have turned it on, I am going to want to record right away. So we're just going to do a quick recording here live, just to show you how easy it is. We put in the batteries, we put in the SD card. The next step is going to be arming a track. Arming simply meaning getting it to record ready status. And we do that on the front panel. There's the LR and 1, 2 buttons. These LR is for my capsule tracks, 1 and 2 are for my 2 inputs that we'll talk more about in a minute. So for now, I'm just going to arm my capsule track. I'm going to ask a buddy I have here with me to come a little bit into the shot. Now, all I have to do is set my gain and hit record. I'm going to set my gain using the knob right on the capsule. So I'm going to ask James to play so I can get a level. Okay. And I have my gain turned to around 8. And I'm pointing the microphones at the 12th fret, the way you would typically do when recording a pretty standard guitar. And I'm going to hit record, and I'll see what it sounds like. All right, so what you heard right there was through the microphone. I have some 7B here that I'm using. But I'm actually going to take the SD card out, and I'm going to put it into my computer so I could play you the actual audio recorded. And the purpose of this is just to show it does not take magic. All it takes is just turning the machine on, setting the gain, and you're going to be able to record something good. So I'm going to play you back that file that we just listened to. And so with no post-production editing, no nothing, we've got a really solid base of audio that we're going to be able to build on in any way that we like. So I'm going to steal my SD card back. I'm going to make a quick adjustment on this mic over here. All right. So that is the basics of taking your H5 out and using it. Now, you can record up to 4 channels of audio at a time with the H5, and that's going to be from the capsule that you have on top, and then from your 2 inputs. Now, when you first turn on your H5, you're going to be in a stereo mode, meaning that you are going to record a standard stereo track. If you want to use all 4 inputs at one time, or use inputs 1 and 2 not as a stereo pair, you're going to go to the menu, and I know you can't see, but I'm going to go to my menu, I'm going to scroll all the way down, and there's going to be an option for record mode, and there's only 2 options in there, stereo file or multi-file. And multi-file is what's going to allow me to record whichever tracks I want. So in this case, now I can arm my capsule track on top, input 1, I could turn that off and just do input 2. I could turn off my capsule track and just do input 2. So because you have the option to record whatever inputs you want, this recorder is ready to use in whatever way you do. A lot of the times it's going out into the field and recording sounds to bring back and use for post-production for a game or for music or something like that. Even just to bring around with you to record music demos. It's designed to be that simple that you should have it in your bag, be able to take it out, power it on, hit record, and be going very, very quickly. So let's take a little tour around the whole unit just to make sure we understand everything that we see there. So my capsule on top, we have 2 microphones. They're on this little rubber kind of spring. They are shock mounted, and that is to reduce handling noise. However, handling noise can still be a problem, so it is often a good idea to put it down on a table or on a tripod. In this case, I'm going to show you a couple things. One, this is a standard tabletop tripod, and I can just screw that into the bottom of my H5, and now I have got it tabletop. This tripod will allow me to point it in whatever direction I so please. This kind of tabletop stand is one of my favorite things to make sure I have with me for the H5, just to get it off of the table, allow me to kind of point it right in the direction I'm looking for, and it also helps reduce handling noise that you would get if you were holding it. Another option is, this is an accessory we have, some other companies make one as well. Ours is called the MA2. And this is simply the standard size of SM58 microphone clip. So you can get any microphone stands with a microphone clip on top, screw this into my H5, and put it right in there, working just fine. I also like using this bar if I really do need to kind of just handhold it, be a little more mobile. At least it gets my hand off of the recorder itself to make sure there's not going to be any vibration hitting the microphones.
Right.
One last option, if you are using this while recording video, every camera has that standard hot shoe, and there are plenty of hot shoe adapters out there that will allow you to attach to my H5, slide it so gracefully onto my camera, and I can even run an audio cable out from the H5 into my camera. The convenient thing about this is if I'm recording it with video, obviously my microphones are going to be pointed in the exact direction of whatever I am trying to pick up.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. So Samuel, I see you've got a bunch of the different Zoom accessory capsules. Now our students don't receive those, but could you talk a little bit about what those different capsules do and why it would be of interest to an aspiring audio professional to maybe invest in some of those additional mics and accessories?
Absolutely. So currently we have 6 altogether. So there's the one that comes with the H5, so no need to buy that separately. Then we've got two that come with another recorder. We make the H6. One of them is an XY. The only real difference between these two are the H5s are shock mounted. These are not, but they do have a slightly larger diaphragm.
Are those other ones adjustable? Is that right?
Oh, yes, that is true as well. They can be rotated from 90 to 120 degrees XY. So that rotation and the larger diaphragm are the only real differences there.
Okay.
And another one we have is the mid-side capsule, and I'll show you this on. So if you're not familiar with the mid-side technique, mid-side is one microphone pointing forward, and then a bidirectional side microphone pointing to each side. And when it's done in your computer, you need to do a little trick to make it work. When you're doing it with one of our recorders using this capsule, it does it for you, and you'll be able to actually adjust that side mic level, which is picking up from both sides. So if you turn it up, you get a wider sounding sound, and if you make it narrower, it will make it a less wide sound. And you can even turn that side microphone off, which would turn this into just a regular mono microphone.
Right, and you can monitor that in real time, right? You can hear it decoded as you're recording, right?
Correct, yeah, you can actually use the toggle wheel. I'm seeing right now, I'm bringing my mid-side level up or down, and in my headphones, I'd be able to hear exactly what change that is making. You can also choose the raw option, which would save your mid mic to one track and your side mic to a second track, so that you can actually bring that into your DAW and make that side mic adjustment in post-production, which we have a plugin that allows you to do that easily, or if you know the trick to make it happen, you could do it yourself.
Right, very cool.
So from there, we go to our two shotgun microphones. So we have a mono shotgun, and this does come with a hairy windscreen, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a little bit. And there is a stereo shotgun. Now, the stereo shotgun is similar to the mono shotgun, except that it has a side microphone the same way that our mid-side capsule has that side microphone. And you can do the same exact thing, make that adjustment to decide how much of the outside noise do I want to let in. Do I want a lot of it? Do I want a little bit of it? And if I were to turn it off, this microphone would act the same as my mono shotgun.
Right. So that could be useful for video recording applications where you want to focus in on the talent's voice, let's say, but you still want to have some control over the sound of the ambient environment, right?
Exactly. My favorite example is you're doing an interview in a park, and you want it to sound like a park, but you want to make sure you're picking up your interviewed guest well. That stereo shotgun allows you to minutely control how much of that outside noise you're going to let in.
Very cool.
And then one of our most popular capsules is this one. It's called the EXH6. And all it does is add two XLR TRS inputs to the top of my H5. So now I can actually plug 4 microphones into this. The one thing to note is that this capsule will not provide phantom power, but the 2 built-on inputs will.
One other thing I forgot to ask about the standard XY, that one has kind of a secret input that most people don't know about. Is that correct?
That is true. So if you look on the side, there is an 1/8" input. And this can be used either for a lavalier microphone or for a stereo line in from a mixing board, from an MP3 player, for anything like that. That will override those onboard microphones, but it is an extra input you can use.
Right. Very cool.
So the inputs on the bottom, like I said, these can both give phantom power for condenser microphones. The XLR is going to be your mic level, and if you want to go in line level, you are going to use TRS. Now, you should not plug guitars and basses into the H5 directly, unless they have active electronics, because the signal will be a little hotter. If you do plug one in, you will get signal, you will be able to record, but it won't be quite the highest quality that you can record. We do advise that you use a DI box if you want to plug an electric guitar or bass into this. But if you want to go with a keyboard, you would go directly in, taking a feed from a mixing board. One of my favorite uses for the H5 is just recording a live show, especially if I'm doing sound for it. I can just take a feed from my board, go to the 2 inputs on the bottom. I even turn on the microphones to add a little bit of crowd noise, but I'll mix out most of it later. But there might be a couple times I like to bring a little bit of it in at the end of a song or something like that.
Right. Very cool. Are there any deep menu items, options that a new user might not be familiar with that they should probably be aware of?
Yeah, so there's a lot going on in this H5, and just if you go through every menu and you go through every selection, you'll learn pretty much everything the H5 can do. But I will call out a couple of cool ones, and the first is the backup record function. Now, backup record means that it will record a second track coming from my capsule. This will not work with the 2 inputs on the bottom, only with my capsule. It will record a secondary track at 12 dB lower than my original track. And the purpose of that is in case my first one clips, my track that's negative 12 dB down will likely be okay. That being said, the microphones that come with the H5 here can handle 140 dB SPL. Which you're talking, being within 20 feet of a jet engine. So it can handle a lot of volume. But that backup record is nice to know you have there, just in case anything goes wrong.
Mm-hmm. And you also have limiters on each input, right? And also on the capsules, is that correct?
Correct, yeah. So there is a compressor and a limiter. It's not fully controllable. It's going to be a couple presets you see in there, a vocal preset, drum preset, things like that. But they can come in useful. Test them out and see which ones you like. There is also a pad for each of the 2 external inputs. That's a 20 dB pad. That is accessed through the menu. And there is also a low cut on all 4 of the tracks. Now, I highly recommend utilizing that low cut. As much headroom as you could buy at the time of recording, especially with a portable recorder like this, the better. So turning that low cut even to 80 dB will help cut out a lot of noise that you're not going to be using later, especially from air conditioners, from the road outside, things like that. I do highly suggest you utilize that low cut.
Right. And this thing can also be used as a studio recording interface, correct? You can connect it directly to your computer.
Yep. So when you plug in USB to your computer and turn on the unit, you're going to get a couple of options. One is to just use it as an SD card reader. So if your computer does not have an SD card slot, no need to get another piece of gear. Just plug the H5 itself in USB to your computer, and you'll be able to drag those files off. Your other option is to put it into audio interface mode. Now you can select either stereo or multi-channel. Obviously stereo if you're only looking to do 2 inputs, multi-channel if you're looking to utilize all 4, and you will get those 4 channels into your DAW, and you will get audio out to the headphone port on this H5.
And can you remind me of the specs as far as recording? It does record 24-bit, correct? What's the maximum sampling rate? That I can't recall.
Sure. So if you're in stereo mode, your limit is going to be 24-bit 96K. If you are in multi-file mode, you're going to be 24-bit either 44.1 or 48K.
Okay, very cool. So for students who get a studio interface and they get a full studio kit, where do you see them best using this as part of their overall equipment package as an audio professional?
I love to see this being the multi-tool in your bag outside of the studio. And it has its uses in studio. You could use it as an interface in studio or to record something quick. But when you put it in your bag and you bring it out with you, one, you get an audio interface for your laptop that can run on its own batteries. But it's just a quick tool to pull out. If you just listen to sounds as you walk around in your normal day, I like to say the time to record sounds is not when you need them. It's when you don't need them.
Right.
So when you go out and you hear a cool sounds, having a recorder in your bag that you can pull out, just capture it quick, put it back throw it on a computer, just give it a quick file name, and just save it for a time that you might need it later.
And what is the battery life on it typically if you're just using standard AA's?
So standard AA's, you are going to get about 15 hours. Now that is if you are not using phantom power. If you are using phantom power on both channels, you're looking more in the 8 to 10 range. That battery life can be extended if you use nickel metal hydride rechargeable batteries. You can also use lithium batteries, but they, most of them are typically still disposable, and it will get you more battery life. But the nickel metal hydrides are a better option.
Right.
You can also power the H5 through the USB port. Now that can be used to plug it into the wall using, we suggest you only use our branded Zoom AD17 adapter, but it's a 1 amp, 5 volts input. So if you use any standard, your cell phone charger or anything like that, you can plug USB into the wall. You can even plug it into a USB battery pack that you would be using for to charge your cell phone. That can also power the H5, and depending on the size, can power it for a very long time.
Very cool. So there's one accessory you guys make that I notice is absent. Actually, a couple. One is the extension cable. So
Yes. So you're correct. I do not have one here, but we do have an extension cable that for the capsule, and there are two models: the ECM3, the ECM6. The ECM3 is 3 meters, about 9 feet, and the ECM6 is about 18 feet. And all that is going to be is one side plugs into the top here, the other side into my capsule, and I can mount that capsule remotely. And that does have a standard tripod on it, so you can mount it on a tripod.
Right. And the other accessory is the remote control, right? There is a remote control for this as well. Do you have that one?
That I do have. So here I have my accessory pack for the H5. This is the only way you can get that remote. It is not sold separately. So in this box, I am going to have a hairy windscreen, which I won't open that one up, but I've got one here. So this, you're simply put over your microphones. There's a little drawstring to tighten it up, a little Don King hair for your recorder. And this is what you want to be using if you are outside and there is a lot of wind going. Even if there's a moderate amount of wind going,
Sure.
The hairy windscreen is going to be the best way to reduce that noise before it hits the microphones. Just a quick side note, in the box with the H5, you will get a foam windscreen, which will do some reduction for very light wind. It will do okay. Or indoor, if you're near a fan or an air conditioning vent and you're hearing a little bit of wind noise, the foam will do just fine. Also, if you ever have somebody talking or singing directly into those microphones, good idea to pop on the foam windscreen.
Sure.
Now, the remote control in my accessory pack, this is a wired remote. It's going to plug into the side of my H5. And the cable on here is a couple feet, but there is a 10-foot extender cable in the box as well. And this gives me access to arming and disarming my tracks, to the volume of my headphone output, as well as my transport controls, my record, play, stop. The one thing this will not give you is access to my gain settings, and that is because we have the analog gain wheels. You will not be able to do that from the remote.
Right, right.
And the last item in that accessory pack is that AC adapter that I mentioned. Just a little USB AC adapter.
Right, so you can save your batteries, very important.
Exactly.
Cool. Awesome. Do you have anything else to show us?
Yeah, so a couple more tricks up the sleeve of this guy. There is an overdubbing mode that will allow you to layer some audio. It's a good songwriting tool if you're looking for that. I won't go into too much detail because I would really have to show you on the screen, but I like letting people know that that's there. It's not a highly utilized part of the H5. There's also a tuner and metronome built in. The metronome, especially if you're recording, can come in handy. Um, There are a couple of nice little safety nets as well. So we talked about the backup record. There's also pre-record. Now, pre-record will, if you have it on, when you hit record, it's actually always recording. So when I hit record, not only will it record from the time I hit record, but it will actually save audio that was coming in for 2 seconds before that I hit record. So it's just that, you know, in case you just missed something, when you hit record, you'll have that 2-second safety window
Safer debuffer,
of the audio before.
Right, it's a great safety buffer to have for sure.
Absolutely. There is also an auto record function, which can be used if you're by yourself and you don't know, and you are not going to be able to hit the record button. Auto record simply means you set a threshold that when the audio goes above that, it starts recording, and then a stop level where once it goes below, it will stop recording. So a good way if you're just recording by yourself, if you need to be out of the way, to make that happen.
Awesome. Very cool.
You can also put markers on your recordings, and when you're recording, especially nature sounds, I think it's an underutilized feature, because you know, you might be waiting for that perfect bird sounds, that perfect you know, leaf falling, something like this, and when you hit record, you want to just leave it going, but you can set it so that when you hit the record button again, it will add a mark. And that would be kind of, if you hear the sound that you wanted, hit the record button and it'll put a little mark on that file. That when I loaded it into my DAW, I'll be able to just go right there and find that sound that I was looking for.
That's awesome. Very useful for sure. Cool. All right.
So another thing that's good to talk about is the fact that this H5 has 2 outputs. So it's got a headphone output, and the volume control for that headphone output is going to be right on the side of the unit. There's also an 1/8" line output. Now, most commonly that is used when it's mounted on top of a camera, so I can run audio directly into my camera. However, one thing to note, most cameras have a mic level input, and this is outputting line level.
Right.
We did put a menu option in the menu to allow you to bring that audio level down to mic level so that you can go directly into your camera without the need for an attenuator cable or something like that.
That's very cool. Hypothetically, you know, our students get an iPad, which they might be interested in using as a camera. Do you know if there's any accessories that would enable them to use the H5 as an audio source for their iPad video?
Sure. So you have 2 options. One is you can actually plug this into USB to your iPad and use it as an audio interface directly in there. You will be limited to just stereo, but in many cases that will work perfectly fine. Your other option, if you did want to utilize all of the inputs, would be to have your standard Lightning to 1/8" adapter, or one of those hubs that has an 1/8" input on it. If it's actually one of the hubs with the input, then you would just need a standard TRS and you're good to go. If you are trying to use a Lightning to standard 1/8", those are TRRS typically. So you would want to be careful and make sure you have the right cable to make that happen.
Right. Very cool. Awesome. So I don't know if we have any student questions or not. I think it's about time for our Q&A. Well, I don't see any student questions yet, so I guess one question I would have for you is, you know, do you use this device personally, and if so, what do you use it for?
So I typically have its bigger brother, the H6, around with me, but they are identical units, except for the fact that the H6 has 2 extra inputs. And my main uses are, one, recording live shows, and that kind of situation I've described, taking a feed from the board and capturing the noise with the microphones. I have also moved from, you know, I play a little guitar, I play a little bass, And I have a studio at home, and I set up my laptop and my interface to just record a little bit just for fun. And I have at this point grown fond of, rather than taking out the computer and the interface and such, just pulling out my recorder, my Zoom recorder, and using it just to record a little demo stuff. And sometimes that will end up being used in a final production. So I even if it's a demo, I always like to set it up the way that I think I'm going to get the best sound I possibly can, and make sure I capture the best that I possibly can.
Right. I like the H5 because, in my opinion, it's kind of the best combination of feature set and portability in the Zoom product line. For me personally, I find some of the other options a little bit either too big or too small. This one seems to be just right and gives you a lot of options that you can take advantage of, but it's still small enough to carry around easily and conveniently. And the fact that you can fit it in a pocket is very convenient. Just having it at the ready, and having those additional external inputs is awesome. And having compatible with all of those additional capsules, there's so many options and things you can do with it. It really is kind of a portable Swiss Army knife. So I am a big fan of it personally, and I do use it quite a bit and show it off to my students because it does, I think, have the best combo of features and small size and convenience for sure.
Absolutely, and make sure you utilize everything you're given. It comes in a plastic case in the box, and throw it in that plastic case and keep it in your bag. Make sure it's a little bit protected. But we even do have a production bag available for it. If you're seriously out there in the field recording stuff and you want to be able to just put it on your belt or something like that, there's a lot of accessories out there for these recorders, especially the H5.
Sure, very cool. So, I don't know if we have any questions at this point or not.
Yeah, it looks like we have from Paul Harlan here. Can Samuel talk about any delay that would happen in the H5 if used as a 4-channel audio interface using the internal mics?
Sure. So there are some people that do report a slight delay in the audio they hear. It's kind of a result of USB 2.0 being the technology that it is. The best thing to do is to change your buffer size and see if that helps you out. And then also just be mindful of your session. If there's a lot of plugins going on and things like that, that can also affect the latency you're going to experience.
Cool.
And we do have one more from Robbie here. He says, is this a fairly standard tool for the industry for sound design?
Absolutely. I go around, I have conversations with a lot of people from student all the way up to professional. And what I've learned is no matter how professional a level you're working at, there is nothing that replaces small, easy tools that you can have with you at all times. And that's usually not the most professional gear you have. You're looking for something small, something to have around with you. One of our famous ones was Frank Serafini, who has passed away at this point, but was famous for Hunt for October, for Tron. He was a big fan of having a Zoom recorder with him at all times, and known for kind of capturing some wacky sounds with that wherever you could. Paula Fairfield is another one. She worked on Game of Thrones, who I was very surprised when she contacted us. She specifically worked on the dragons and the Army of the Dead sounds of that show, and she was using a Zoom recorder to capture a lot of that. So never feel like you're limited by the gear that you have, because what really matters is the end product you're able to make, and always fight for getting the best out of the equipment that you have.
Great advice, for sure. Any other questions?
That's all we got. Thanks.
All right, cool. So I guess that'll kind of wrap things up for us. So thank you, Samuel, for taking the time to come speak with us and show off the H5. So hopefully you guys enjoyed learning about that as much as we enjoyed talking about it. And do tune in again in the future, because as always we do these each and every month. So do check on Full Sail 1 for the town hall schedule. These are usually held on the third or fourth Monday of the month. So I think that's going to kind of wrap things up for us. And have a good one, guys.
Right on, thank you.
Yep. Thanks again, Samuel.